Coming to get you, Bobber.
Wrong Turn is a 2021 horror movie directed by Mike P. Nelson, and it stars Charlotte Vega, Aidan Bradley, and Bill Sage. Hi guys, last year I covered the Wrong Turn franchise, hoping that by the end of the reviews I would get to do a review for the Wrong Turn movie that was supposed to be coming maybe late 2020, at the latest early 2021. Eventually, ages later, I've got to do a review for Wrong Turn 2021. Friends hiking in the Appalachian Trail are confronted by the Foundation, a community of people who have lived in the mountains for hundreds of years. Now before we begin the review guys, this is going to be a spoiler review. The reason I've not really mentioned it in the title is because it's not the most spoiler review, but if you want to go into this movie, if you've never seen it, if you want to go into it with knowing nothing whatsoever, then please don't watch this. But if you're interested, or if you have seen it, then please continue watching. Now first of all, we know there's a vast difference between this storyline and the previous movie's storyline. Even the very first movie from 2003, this is absolutely different, completely different in all different ways. The only common theme that they share is the name, Wrong Turn. Now this is a little more realistic than inbred, deformed cannibals with the superhuman strength. This is something I do like about this movie, because as much as I don't mind having a little bit more strength in the cannibals from the first movie, I think as the movies went on and they progressed, I think the cannibals progressed as well, and they were more superhuman than ever before. And I think they got a little bit too much, a little bit too out of context from what they were from 2003. So I'm glad that they zoned it in. They're no longer these, they're no longer cannibals in fact. They're no longer inbred. In fact, they are inbred. They are inbred, I'm assuming. But they're no longer cannibals, they're no longer deformed, and they'll no longer have this superhuman strength. Something I noticed that had a more 70s backwoods vibe to it, with all the skulls, etc. It reminded me more of The Hills Have Eyes than the original Wrong Turn movie. When I first watched Wrong Turn from 2003, it had the Hills Have Eyes vibe to it, but it felt more like Just Before Dawn from 1981, whereas this one, this version of Wrong Turn, it felt more of a 70s horror movie rather than an 80s horror movie. When it comes to leaders of the Wrong Turn movies, I think this guy was pretty scary, played by Bill Sage. I think the reason he's scary is because he could speak. He could also speak his own language as well, and he didn't look deformed. I know that when you look deformed, they're supposed to be scary, but I think the fact that he looked normal made it even more scary, because he could easily blend in with the real world. There was a point in this film where they made fun of the inbred cannibal movies when they mentioned this.
So don't be late. Boys pick something with inbred cannibals?
When it comes to the story, it could have been split into two movies, because it was sort of like two different movies in one. It's not a bad thing, because at the start you had the couples on the Appalachian Trail, and then the other half of the movie was them, the survivors of that, becoming part of this tribe, as you could call it, this inbred tribe that's been going on for hundreds of years in the Appalachian Trail. So I think if you split it into two movies, it might have made more sense, but it still made sense because the movie itself is not short. It's nearly 2 hours long. I think it's 1 hour 50 or something. I think it's the longest running Wrong Turn movie, so they had to explain quite a few things in that runtime. In regards to that though, it had a solid story. I think the acting as well in this was really good. It's been the best acting since the original by a country mile. If not, maybe it equaled the acting from 2003. It had the best score since the original, of course. It had the best effects. Everything since the original, I think it topped everything from 2 till 6, because all of those movies were straight to DVD. And I know this one was straight to VOD, but it probably would have had a limited release worldwide. You know, I think it had a limited release in the US only, but everywhere else it went straight to VOD. But I think it was worthy. The quality of this movie was worthy of a theatrical release. My only issue when looking back in this film, was that they needed to use the Wrong Turn name for publicity reasons. I think if they called this film something completely different, it still would have been enjoyable. And I think that fans of Wrong Turn, I've read this online, that there are some fans of the Wrong Turn franchise that didn't like this film simply because it was completely different to the other Wrong Turn movies. Now this is one of the best Wrong Turn movies, but it's completely different from the rest. If they released this film and called it something else, even just The Foundation, like they were nearly going to call it. I know they originally called it Wrong Turn, The Foundation, but if they just called it The Foundation and it had nothing to do with Wrong Turn, I think people who watched it thinking they were disappointed because it wasn't really a Wrong Turn movie, I think they would have liked it more had they have thought it was nothing to do with Wrong Turn. The same effect that people have with Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. If you watch that movie and don't associate it with Michael Myers or the Halloween movies, you might enjoy it more. The same goes for this movie. I think people who didn't like it would enjoy it more if they weren't concentrating on it being a sequel or a prequel or a remake or whatever to the Wrong Turn franchise. I can understand why they called it Wrong Turn though, because it wouldn't have gained as much traction as it did hadn't it been called a Wrong Turn movie. So I think publicity wise it was the best move because it gained more traction, whereas I think it failed in the fact that it wasn't really a Wrong Turn movie. Overall though guys, I really like this film. Calling it Wrong Turn aside, that was my only negative, and that didn't have an effect on the film for me because my viewing experience was just the same. Some people can't differentiate it, but I can. So watching it, but don't care what it was called, it could have been Wrong Turn, it could have been called The Foundation, I still enjoyed it. And I think the ending was pretty shocking as well. I didn't see that ending coming. Again, I won't really mention it because this is a semi-spoiler review. I don't want to spoil the whole movie for you, but definitely watch the movie to the end, especially after the mid-credits, because during the credits is part of the end of the movie as well, which is good. So yeah, I definitely recommend this film, guys. If you're a fan of Wrong Turn, definitely watch it. If you're not a fan of Wrong Turn or any of the other Wrong Turn movies, the good thing is you don't have to be, because this is completely different and I really enjoyed it. So if you've seen this movie, guys, let me know down below what you think of it. Do you think it fits into the Wrong Turn franchise? Even if it doesn't, did you like the movie or not? And as always, guys, thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.